All right, it's 1 o'clock, and I need my microphone. It's 1 o'clock, so we'll begin the meeting today. Thank you, everybody, for carving out time out of the beautiful sunny summer day to come in and spend time on this important business. We aren't going to get everything done in one meeting. We know that. It's going to be a long process, but the agenda that's before us today will help us make some progress towards what we need to accomplish. So that's the call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Lear?
Present.
Ms. Weber?
Present.
Ms. Peters? Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Swanson? Ms. Parker?
Present.
Ms. Polk? Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you, Kelly. We know who the county government board members are here due to the roll call that was just done, but we do have several others, other citizens who we've invited to be a part of the process, and I think it might be a good idea if we have some introductions so that we all know where you're from and who you are. If you don't mind, Ms. Posing, why don't we start on your end there?
I just need them to go to one mic.
Could you, yes, please use the microphone. What number is that? 14.
It's good to see you again.
Mary Posing, I'm the Dean of Continuing Education at KCC.
Great, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you might as well just come up and sit in one of these open seats. That way you can be a part of the discussion a little bit easier.
Okay, so I'll just say my introduction.
Did you get one? We have an important here for Jack. For Jack Miller.
Oh, we do.
Yes. Oh, well, no, I'm not. What's the number on that? Oh, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kiana Battle, Vice President of Academic Affairs at KCC.
Excellent.
I'm Angela Maury with the Economic Alliance of Kankakee County.
LaDonna Russell, the Executive Director for the Grundy Livingston Kankakee Workforce Board.
I'm Stacy Wilkin, Executive.
Go ahead.
Stacy Wilkin, I'm the Executive Director of the Kankakee County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
I'm Ashley Villarreal, and I'm the Executive Director of the Kankakee County Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Matt Kelly. I am the Director of the Kankakee Career Center.
Excellent. Thank you very much for bringing your expertise to the discussion today. It's going to be very valuable when we talk about workforce development and how to appropriate these ARPA funds. Public comment. I did not see any. No. Okay, we have no public comment. Number 4, public input. We don't have anything officially for public input. Number 5, approval of minutes from our July 19th workforce meeting. And since this is a joint meeting with workforce and the business revitalization, we'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from those two committees. Mr. Smith. All right, Mr. Alexander. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So does that work as both of those, or do we need 2 separate?
So I need Mr. Smith is fine.
Okay, we'll need to have a second from the workforce committee. Ms. Weber. Okay, let's do that again. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly. All right, submission forms in your packets. There are applications. There's 2 different ones. There's for funding over $50,000 and 1 application for funding under $50,000. So those applications are here, and they're also available on the county government's website. Kelly, do you want to give information on where exactly on the website that is?
It's under the ARPA committees on the home page. It's under county news, and then you can also go into the ARPA committees, and at the very bottom, you'll find the application to print and submit to the administration email.
Great, thank you. Anything else on those submission forms that we should be aware of? If not, number 7, policy discussion. You can see there's 3 policies here proposed for approval. The first one is where applicable, grantees must demonstrate access to operational funding post-ARPA, no county funding. Second one, grantees with programs that overlap in terms of geography and/or scope, service area, will be encouraged to partner and coordinate. And the third one there, priority will be given to locally owned businesses and employees, students. Any discussion on those, or should we move to number 8, adoption of policy for consideration? Ms. Weber?
Is that in addition to the policies approved in our minutes? Yes, okay.
Yes. 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 Mr. Lear?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item I there, that first one, where applicable, I assume that creates some flexibility for us that would allow us to make some decisions if there's a special kind of case where we might want to be able to distribute some funds with no post-ARPA money. To me, that's what it reads, and I just wanted to have that on the record, that that would be my understanding of what that where applicable means.
Is that how others interpret that? I think you would be correct, Mr. Lear.
Yeah, obviously, in my mind, we want to give first priority to those grantees that have post-operational funding. But having flexibility, I think, would be a valuable part of the policy. Thank you.
Any other comments? I believe flexibility is going to be a big part of this. No other comments? Adoption of policy for consideration by the executive committee.
I would move to adopt the policy.
Mr. Lear. We have a second from the workforce committee. Okay, Mr. Smith. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Great, that passes. Number 9, State of the Workforce presentation. Ms. LaDonna Russell is here from the Grundy Livingston Kankakee Workforce Development Board to give this presentation. Thank you for your time putting this together. It's going to hopefully provide us a lot of good insight. You can sit here or use that one.
As Mr. Miller said, my name is LaDonna Russell. I'm the Executive Director for the Grundy Livingston Kankakee Workforce Board. We are a local nonprofit who oversees and manages the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funds, WIOA funds. We serve Grundy, Livingston, and Kankakee counties. Our offices are actually across the street, and we're kind of co-located with the Economic Alliance, and we fund the Kankakee Workforce Services office, which is through a contract with Kankakee Community College. So some of this is anecdotal data that we've heard, kind of like heard on the street from people who are using our services, from working with employers and so forth. And so Chairman Wheeler asked me if we would be able to do, especially for the Workforce Committee, a state of the workforce. What is the workforce today? What have we seen? What are we seeing to help with maybe the direction of some of these ARP funds and using some data. And so as we go forward, on the next slide, which is in the packet, is I presented a lot of data to you, to the committee and to the members in regards to looking at what is the state of the workforce? What was the workforce, the state of the workforce pre-COVID? What was the workforce during COVID, during the height of COVID? And where are we at right now? And I'm hopefully, of course, towards the tail end of COVID. That's what I'm hoping, but you know, who knows with the new surge. And so what you see in your on the PowerPoint right now is the red line is the Kankakee County unemployment rate, and the blue line is the Illinois unemployment rate. And so all this is actually from Illinois Department of Employment Security. I went back to June of 2019, so like a year pre-COVID. We were in full employment. So basically, employers were really in desperate need of workers. Again, there was more job openings than people. And if you look at the unemployment rate, it's the lowest for Kankakee County it's ever been. And then that obviously changed during April of 2020, and that is that huge spike. So that was our rate was unemployment rate was 15.9%. Everything was, that was during the shutdown. People were unemployed, and so we were actually less than the state of Illinois. We have a more diverse industry group here within the county made up. So we have healthcare, we have manufacturing, we have service sector, we have professional business services, and so that actually helped mitigate the amount of layoffs that happen. Say, for example, the city of Chicago in their tourism industry, the hotels and the hospitality, they're still trying to come back from it. So it really helped us to have that really diverse industry within our county, because it really did help us during the height of COVID. As you can see on this chart, obviously it goes up and then it drops as the economy, as COVID, we kind of reopened and so forth. So currently, as of June, you can see the rate is actually 6.8%, and that is that latest data from IDS, and that equals to about 3,600 people unemployed. Okay, next slide. For my board, I put this in here because for my workforce board that I report to, we did a lot of numbers on the state of the workforce during COVID, and I wanted to see how does the current workforce compare to like the Great Recession from 2010. Where are we at as far as that, as far as unemployment numbers and employment rate? And so if you look at this, is just an annual data, the annual average data for unemployment rates for Kankakee County. So if you look at 2009 to about 2011, that was the height of the Great Recession. You can see our rates were, about 12%, a little bit more, So during the height of COVID, during 2020, our unemployment rate, annual rate was 8.8%, and we are currently at 6.8%. So COVID is still bad, but it hasn't affected the economy or the workforce as much as the recession in 2010. This next chart for the state of the workforce, there's a lot of information on this chart. And so, but I like to look at, when I'm looking at unemployment figures, not just the rate, the percentages, but actually what is the labor force? What is the, how many people are employed? How many people are unemployed? And then the bottom line down at the bottom is the unemployment percentage. So that is what this one chart states. Is that top blue line is the labor force. And the labor force refers to, it's made up of individuals in the county who are actively seeking work. And obviously employed as those who are working, and then the unemployed are those people who are no longer working. And some key points that I kind of wanted to point out is, so pre-COVID, during the height of pre-COVID, so pre-COVID, our labor force was about 56,000. So that's those people were in the county actively seeking work or working within Kankakee County. That's an important number to realize as we talk further in this conversation. And the number of unemployed, so those who are collecting unemployment, were about 2,500, give or take. But that's really what you're looking at, that chart for the pre-employment. Obviously, during the height of COVID, our labor force dropped to 51,000. We had 8,200 on unemployment, and those employed dropped to 43,300. That's that big chart, the big spike, and then we come back down. As of right now, the current state of the economy, the current state of the labor force, so those actively seeking work, those who are working or actively seeking, trying to find a job, We are at the labor force is 53,098 people. So the problem with the first problem I see as a workforce board director, and I've been having these discussions with my board and the Kankakee Workforce Services Office and Economic Alliance, is we are 3,000 less people in the labor force from when we started pre-COVID a year 2019. 3,000 less people are no longer working for work. How do we get these people back re-engaged? Because that's going to be very important in my 2 slides from now. How do we engage these people? How do we get them back into the workforce? How do we get them the skills necessary to get back into the workforce because they've been maybe out for a while? But that labor force number is really important, especially on the employer side, because employers, and I'm looking at Mary, but because she knows this, and we hear this all the time, and Economic Alliance hears, employers are in desperate need of workers. There is a workforce shortage right now. They cannot there's not enough workers. They are not getting the applications. They are not getting quality workers, and I am going to use qualities in air quotes because we'll talk about that in a minute. But employers are in desperate need of workers. They cannot fill positions. There are, and I'm going to use the county for one moment as, they have open positions. They weren't getting applications. I'm looking at Anita's back there shaking her head. But this is true across the entire county, not just the county. I know School District 11 has open positions. Riverside Healthcare has open positions. Amita has open positions. They are not getting applicants for these positions, not including our manufacturing employers. And so we hear from employers daily, how do I recruit? How do I find people? What's your magic number? And unfortunately, we do the best we can. We do all the free, our social media posts for the Workforce Services Office. We, tell people, we get it out, we try to get it to the community. But those 3,000 workers are making a huge impact on right now the workforce shortage. There is a huge workforce shortage in the county for workers. Sure, I don't care.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
I was just wondering, these people that are looking for help, what is their rate of pay compared to what they're getting from unemployment?
Can I table that for a minute? Because I'm going to talk about that in a couple slides. So if I don't answer your question in a couple slides, bring it back up where I'll try to answer it more fully, okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I said, as a workforce board director and Workforce Services Office, we are trying everything we know to try to find these. We work with our partners at IDS. They are we work well with them. They help us do e-blasts. So basically anyone who's collecting unemployment, they will get an e-blast from us saying we're having a job fair or we're doing this or they're doing that. Believe it or not, in pre-COVID, we would see a good response rate from that. We would see, we would have a job fair. They would send out the information. We would get a huge, we'd have 160, 170 people come to a job fair. We did a e-blast, not for a job fair, but something that we were, looking for. I think we had less than a handful of people respond to it. So there is just this huge right now disconnect about the state of the workforce. So I just wanted to, and I'm going to go back to your question. Go on. Looking at more data. So this is, IDS has a report out on their website. So this is everything I'm giving you here is just public data that's I pulled from the IDS website. I just put it in a nice chart and graph form so it's easier for everyone to read. They have a report called Initial Monthly Unemployment Claims. So it looks at new unemployment claims for that month. On the 12th day of the month, what are the new unemployment claims? So it doesn't look at those who are existing, who are collecting on unemployment, but it just looks at the new ones. But what this shows is there a trend for, is more people getting laid off, is more people filing, and so forth. So the blue line is the number of monthly claims filed. In the red line, obviously, I'm tying it back to that unemployment rate. And as you can see, as you expect, there's correlation between number of claims filed and the UI rate. But the numbers have decreased. I mean, like if you look, you always heard about the recovery for COVID. It's going to be KM, whatever whatever letter of the alphabet. It's not going to be a straight up and a straight down. But this line kind of shows that we went up, we had the lows, now we went back down, and now we went back up a little bit. Seasonal, I would say that bump back up is seasonal, because if you look at the months, it's always December and January, so those are your seasonal individuals. We came back down, we went back up a little bit on new claims filed for the month of June. But so we've kind of a little bit come down a little bit, but in June, unfortunately, there was an increase for a little bit. During COVID, my board was really interested in looking at some characteristics of the unemployed. So if you look at the unemployment, who's collecting unemployment? Or not just who, but what are the demographics of those who are collecting unemployment? What industries were affected? What occupations were affected? And so forth. And so the next couple of slides is from a report called The Characteristics of the Unemployed. And so this looks at the 12th day of the month. This is all self-reported data from those who are collecting unemployment. When they collect unemployment, they have to check some boxes when you file online. So this is all self-reported data. And I'm showed some key pieces here. And the first key piece is the education of those who are collecting unemployment. And this really affects, especially the workforce committee for the ARP funds, is if you notice in blue, that is the height of COVID. So that's April of 2020. The red box is your current characteristics. So that's June of 2021. As of right now, in June of 2020, 60% of those who are collecting unemployment had a high school diploma or less. As you get more training and education, your chances of getting unemployed is less and less and less. So in April, if you notice it was 57% of those who are collecting unemployment had a high school diploma or less. Very important, especially as I think for these ARP funds discussions with the workforce. And if you talk about training and getting additional skills, as you get more skilled and have a more skilled workforce, your chances of unemployment and collecting, if you just look at this graph, it is less. So I think that's important as you go forward, is that as you get more training and more skills, the chances of unemployment is less as you go forward. The next, again, is looking at the top industries during this time period. Again, just looking at April, which was the height of COVID, and looking at today, which is where we're at as of June. The top industries during, and this is not a big surprise, that were affected by COVID is hospitality, leisure and hospitality, retail trade, and education and health services. And everyone's like, well, education and health services, that's a demand occupation. It's a demand industry. And I always have to say, when we were in the height of COVID, we were all told to stay home. Hospitals were not doing elective surgeries. Doctor's appointments were being canceled. We were still trying to figure out how to do things. And so that education was remote. So you didn't need your teacher assistants or your, class aides, your school lunch ladies, that is why that is one of your top three. And then right now you're looking at your top industries are business and professional services, manufacturing, and it's still education and health services is still at 12%. I do have to say this for industries is that locally our manufacturing and production industries, again, there have been no big layoffs. They haven't filed any what's called WARN reports. So that's a report that has to be filed by an employer who lays off 50 or more people locally. But almost 50% of our population commutes. So they commute, they're out commuters. And Ford in Chicago, the Ford plant in Chicago, they did a massive layoff because of they can't get the semi-chip conductor. And so that affects, so they affected that plant, which affected their suppliers. And so even though local employers didn't do layoff, I still think this layoff is coming from those commuters. That's just my professional opinion, because we haven't seen, again, as I said earlier, we're seeing a desperate need for workforce from within our manufacturing industries. Next slide. So this is all the occupations. Again, there's a lot of data here, and you can read it at your own leisure at a later time. But the top occupations during the height of COVID was food service, production, sales, and currently it's production, food service, and sales is just different percentages. So just interesting, I just find that interesting data. So the board produces a report every month called Job Postings Advertised in Kankakee County. And so there is the PowerPoint, and then I actually had Kelly give you the nice, prettier version because I had to break up the PowerPoint into two pieces. So there's a one-page version too. It has the same data, it's just prettier on the other side. But what this is we belong to a subscription, labor market subscription program called EMSI. They have it's a software program that looks at job posting analytic data. So it goes out to the different websites. Some computer looks at all the postings, brings them back, looks at occupations, tries to eliminate duplicate postings. So for example, say Amita St. Mary's has a nurse position posted and they have it on 3 other websites. It takes it back and looks at the software, says, oh, there's only one posting. It gets rid of the duplicates. And so we keep this updated monthly. And so what this shows is as for June, there was 4,008 total job posts. This doesn't mean the total jobs, it just means their total job posts. I'm gonna give you the same example with Amita St. Mary's at Riverside. They may post a job once on their website, but they may need to fill 10 positions. But it's only showing once. So it doesn't really show you total openings or jobs. It just shows you how many occupations they're looking for. But still, there was 4,008 total job posts for the month of June, from June 1st through June 30th. What we do is we look only at the top 20 occupations. We put some wage data in there. We have information on the top, who were the top employers who posted within our county, and then the positions by title. So it's a wide range of positions, from entry-level positions to CDL truck drivers to RNs to industrial maintenance workers to like forklift drivers. So there, as you can see, there's a wide range of skills and abilities that employers need for within our county. Now, if you remember a couple slides ago, I said that in June there was 3,631 people collecting unemployment as of June. That's how many people are currently collecting unemployment. If we got every one of those people jobs, those 4,008 jobs, we would still not have enough jobs for all the postings. We would still be short. 377 would left be unfilled. So it goes back to, how do we get these people back into the workforce, those 3,000 people that were pre-COVID? How do we re-engage the community residents to get them back to the workforce, get them back to training, get them back the job skills they need, get them back to, so that employers can fill their open positions? All right. Sure.
What is the incentive of the employers to bring on people with lesser experience and train them versus the people not making what they feel like they want to make, if this is...
So employers actually during this time have actually, I'm pleasantly surprised and about how employers have responded during this time. Employers, during this time, we have, myself, Economic Alliance, we have gotten many phone calls from employers about, well, what's the market rate for wages? How do we, recruit more people? And so employers now are raising their rates. They, some employers we know have raised them fairly amount. We're talking like $2 an hour. They are looking at being more generous with their requirements. When I say that, I mean like Jasper Jones has a reentry program, very nice, really great program. They are really looking at different populations that they may have not looked at before. So they're taking returning citizens, so those maybe who are coming from Department of Corrections or our county jail, working with Jasper and getting them re-employed at different employers. So they have actually expanded their populations or their workforce to look more at different opportunities. So their skills and their qualifications, I think employers have looked at them to see, is that really a skill or qualification that is really needed for that position?
Well, it would seem to me that a lot of people would be looking for insurance, retirement, benefits.
Yes.
Similar to that. I mean, you can take any one of these jobs.
Yes.
If you don't have retirement or insurance, I mean,
you're never
got
going...
food on the table, but
Yes.
you don't. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. And I just wonder if.
So employers know they have to be competitive. I'm just going to be honest, or else they're going to have a workforce shortage. In order to address that question, though, the Workforce Board actually released a request for proposals or notice of funding opportunity, or whatever you want to call this, is that we are actually going to fund, hire a consultant, a professional services firm, to do a local employer wage and benefit survey to understand what is the current market rate for wages for different industries. And we're going to target 3 industries right now, which is manufacturing, healthcare, transportation, distribution, and logistics. I was like, what was that third one? It was coming on. So we're going to target those 3 industries in regards to what is the market rate, what is the going pay rate, what is your benefits package. And so this report is going to hopefully address that question, because we're going to be working with the Alliance and the Chamber and other organizations to get, once the results are public, so that this is what the market rate is and this is what the benefits are, and so the data can be public so that employers can make the best decision on, are they competitive. So we're as a board, workforce board, we're working on it.
Okay, well, I mean, it would seem that you have to have something to look forward to later in life, and if there's nothing there, there's really
yes,
not the incentive that one might need.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you. When do you expect that report might be available?
So my RFP timeline is all the proposals are due from the consultants by August 9th, to be awarded September 1st, to be finished by December.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Making sure. All right. So not my last slide, sorry. I can talk about this all the way, by the way, if you haven't noticed. So I call this slide Heard on the Street, because this is not, the source data is not like a IDS website or labor market prescription. This is just what we've heard in the community. This is very generalized terms. So when I just want to make some little caveats is saying, these are some very generalized what we've heard. It doesn't mean this applies to every person within the community. I just want to say that, this is kind of, what we've been hearing, but there are still maybe some, there outstanding people who are looking for work. If they are, please call my Kankakee Workforce Services office. We have openings and we have money to fund your training. Little plug there. So these are some of the things that we've heard on the street. And this is also during COVID, and it still is true today. Number one biggest issue, childcare. Childcare during COVID was awful, because number one, childcare was shut down. When they were forced to when they could reopen, they had capacity limits. What happens then, and we've heard stories of this, what happens when your child is exposed and now they have to quarantine, and so like one of the parents couldn't work. And it's things that I didn't even think of because my child is older, but that's why they couldn't go looking for work, because their child was doing remote learning, and so they were a single parent and they couldn't have someone stay at home with them, and there was no childcare, or their child was quarantining, or there is no childcare because all the centers are at X capacity, or they're all full and there's a waiting list. Affordable quality childcare is still a #1 barrier in the community, within the state, within the nation. I'm just we are not unique in Kankakee County, but it's still a #1 barrier in regards to workforce. Transportation, it's still a barrier. We do have a good public transportation. You know, the Metro is, you know, really good. The problem is they have set schedules, and some of the times that employers need people to work, those buses don't run. And so, for example, I know Economic Alliance in Angelo, they heard from employers, the Versatech, you know, we have, you know, some employers out there, and they may start at 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, the buses don't run and they can't get them there. And so the transportation is still an issue. And so how, as we go forward, how do we address that issue? How do we eliminate transportation? Unemployment. Hopefully this addresses itself by September 4th. September 4th is when that special UI unemployment ends, so that additional $300 that individuals are getting right now on top of their regular unemployment, that ends September 4th across the nation. The only way that is re-upped or extended is if the federal government extends it for additional time. At this time, I do not believe that will happen because there has been no discussions of it, and I haven't heard of that happening. But that has been a big issue, is why should I go back to work when I'm making more on unemployment? And it also set up unrealistic wage expectations for those who are doing it. And we've heard from anecdotal data, heard on the street, doesn't mean it's true for everyone, just here's my little caveat. I'm turning down a $17 an hour job with benefits because I'm making 20 bucks an hour right now in unemployment. I got the job offer. I'm not doing it. I'm worth 20 bucks, even though during the past year and a half sitting on unemployment, I did not go to KCC and get additional skills. I did not, but I'm still worth 20 bucks an hour. And so right now, wage expectations for individuals are 20 bucks an hour. But they didn't up their skills during their time to make that wage. But that's what they want. So they're turning down good jobs that then you can get up to that wage within a year or two. Remember, I guess I'm old because I always remember you start out at entry level and then you work your way up and then you know, and then you get, you know, where you need to be, or then you like get more skills and then you may go to a different employer because now you have more skills and you get a better wage. That's not the mindset right now. The mindset is I made this, and so this is what I earn, even though that's not the expectation from employers as of right now. And so that's creating a problem because they, you know, we, as my office, at my workforce service office, people turn down jobs during this because just of that wage. It's unbelievable, by the way. I still am shocked. Just shocked. And so that is on the individual job seeker side. That's going to be a problem going forward. How do we address that? And again, my workforce services office, they do the best they can having these conversations. But I think when they come off unemployment on September 4th, they're going to be hurting. And I say and that's a general term because they're going to be, what do I do now? Where do I go now? What do I do? And so, but they may still have that wage expectation of what they were making during that special 300 bucks. Did I answer your question then about?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking that while you were saying that.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Okay. And then the flexibility right now. So we hear people, and it goes back to work ethic. So, you know, a few years ago, we would talk to employers and we'd be like, you know, Kankakee County has the best work ethic ever. We have, you know, our education for our bachelor's degree may not be as high as another county, but you know what? We show up for work, we put in our hours, you know, we are a great work ethic community. What we're hearing is that for the people that are getting hired now, in a generalized statement, that no longer holds true. People show up for the first day, maybe at 10 o'clock, even though they're supposed to start at 8, because that's when I wanted to start, or I couldn't do this, or whatever excuse. And, oh, by the way, I can't come tomorrow to work, even though that's my scheduled shift, because, yeah, whatever excuse they have, and I've heard them all. But, you know, I can be here Thursday, but I can't be here Friday to work because, you know, well, it's Friday. No one wants to work on Friday. But so they really want to set their own hours, but still get paid for a 40-hour work week. And so they're kind of shocked when their employer says, yeah, I'm sorry, your services are no longer needed here because of attendance issues. So they really want that flexibility to do what they want, still get paid for the 40-hour week. And so I'm putting it under a work ethic type of issue that that is more prevalent now than it was pre-COVID. We've always had this issue, but more on a minor scale. But now it's really getting into employers are saying, only to hire that one good person, I have to hire like 10 people for one people to stay. I'm making up numbers, but it's, their pool of people that they have to recruit to try to get them to have one person stay, it's really large now compared to pre-COVID. Work from home. People might have been working from home during COVID, and now that's what they want. They want to work from home, which is great. There's nothing, if that's what their lifestyle, if that's what they want. The only issue is for our local employers, work from home. We're not Google. We're not Facebook. A lot of our employers are not set up for work from home. And so, some employers may have that flexibility of, maybe a hybrid model, but the majority of our employers in our community want people to come on site for 40 hours a week, as long as it's allowable per CDC or health department guidelines. But that's not what people want. They want to work from home, which is fine. If they can find a work from home job, that's great. But it still doesn't help our workforce issue for our shortage of workforce for employers. So where are we going to make up that time, that person who's working from home? How are we going to find that person to go into work who now is no longer in that labor force? And COVID-19 is still an issue. People will not look for work. They still have concerns about it. They may have some underlying health issues. They may have a family member they live with some underlying health issues. And so that is still a barrier right now because it's still in the community and it's still there, and people are still out of the labor force because of that. So I kind of went through on the employer side a little bit about this. The recruiting issues, again, I just have to say, employers are in desperate need of employees, of applicants, of workforce, skilled workforce that has work ethic, that will show up for work, do the job, have flexibility, communication skills. We call them soft skills. You can call them job readiness skills. You can, but in the applicants today, it's just not there. It's just not there. They don't have the skills. They didn't upgrade their skills while they were for the past year, and so they don't have the skills needed to do it. I talked about the transportation issue. I do have to go back about the wage increase and hiring bonuses. This is the only time I've ever seen, and I've been doing workforce, and I don't want to age myself, but I've been doing workforce 21 years in some sort of fashion, and this is the only time I have seen employers giving $1,000 bonuses for hiring bonuses across all industries. You used to see it for like maybe registered nurses or those specialized skill sets that they were really having problems, or doctors or so forth. It's across all industries. Production workers, any entry-level production workers, $1,000 hiring bonus, retention bonuses if you stay on your job. Remember I talked about people aren't staying, and retention bonuses. Those are not. Some of them are helping, but to be honest, from what Angela at the Alliance is hearing, that's not really helping. So hiring bonuses are helping a little bit. Employers saw an intake, like if they do it, they see a little increase, but doing a retention bonus, so if you don't miss work for a week and say you get an extra $50-$40 in your check, they have yet, some employers say, yeah, I've only given it out once or twice, or and so forth. So money isn't really the issue. It's not solving the problem. Go ahead, Angela, sorry.
I'm gonna jump in.
Go ahead.
Got it, good. Yeah, you know, we spend a lot of time in our office talking to the employers and just hearing what they're dealing with. And like you said, LaDonna, the wage increases, it's not it's not just for the new employees coming in, because you have somebody coming in and we're going to bump up the starting pay at, you know, to $20 an hour. Well, how is that fair to the people who have been there for 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, who are just now making that wage? So the employers are saying, you know, we can bump everybody up, but what is really sustainable, you know, from their perspective? You know, how can we just keep upping everybody's salary and be able to be profitable in that? So just a little bit about that, you know, like you said, the bonuses it's not that. The recruiting issues, they spend a lot of time trying to recruit and get people to just apply for the job and then getting them to show up for an interview. You know, I just talked to one employer and they had 4 people show up for the interview. They offered the job to 2 people and 1 person showed up the first day and then didn't come back. So like that, we're hearing really across the board from all the employers. So they're struggling, and it's really affecting the production also. You know, one employer had said if they can fill all their open positions, they could increase production by 45%. So, you know, like it's a continuous trickle down effect for, you know, people going back to work, helping our, you know, manufacturers, our employers, and that's just, you know, the better they do, the better our county does as a whole. So that's just, you know, like reflecting on what LaDonna said, that's what we're hearing across the board from our employers. It's not so much about the money. Some of it definitely is the transportation issues. Our office has met with the Metro office to figure out, can we offer different times? You know, a lot of our manufacturers have 2nd and 3rd shifts and the bus don't run at that time, so maybe people can get to work but they can't get home, or they can get home from work on a certain shift but they can't get there on time. But that's tricky too, because the Metro is short on drivers. So, you know, it's kind of a, you know, everybody needs to just go back to work and then we can get, you know, but, you know, and then the lack of skills. A lot of our employers are offering training. They'll do on-the-job training. I know KCC has a lot of different programs. So it's there and it's available. You know, you can pretty much go in with no skills. They'll train you on the job. They'll pay you. They'll help you. You know, they're just happy to get somebody in there to show up, and we're struggling there also. So there's definitely a lot of different reasons and factors that go into why people aren't working, and when they haven't been working maybe for a year and a half, you know, I mean, it's like, it's hard to go back to work on a Monday. It's hard to go back to work after you've been off for a week of vacation. It's really hard to go back to work when you've been off for a year and a half. And I think we need to kind of reset, you know, everybody's mindset with that. So, you know, it's just a lot of this, the individual and employer side, there's a disconnect.
Ms. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the things I've been hearing, the root cause here is work ethics. How do we cannot teach work ethics. It's a behavior that has to be learned and continued throughout school. How do we get students to attend classes, and how do we get people to go to work on time and stay the entire time? Where can we start with this? I cannot remember. I'm going to go back. I'm older than you are. A lot older. And I mean, I cannot imagine calling in and just say, I don't feel like coming to work. I'm not going to come to work tomorrow. I have 25 years of education, and I can't imagine just calling up and saying, I'm not going to come teach class today, because that would let down my students, and it would let me down because my work ethic is so good. How can we fix this?
I'm actually going to turn it over to Mary. She just is chomping at the bit to answer your question.
Well, Tinker, first of all, they wouldn't call in. They just, like you said, you would call in, but they wouldn't call in. Honestly, I think we need to start at a much younger age. That's my opinion. We need to start very, very young and set wonderful examples for our youth on what it means to be a responsible adult. Whether or not they're getting that role modeling at home, you know, we can't say, but so I don't know if that starts with, you know, summer school and learning STEM and robotics, or youth jobs programs where they get incentives to show up every day and to learn and to have a job, if you will. But the younger we can get them, the better. That's Mary's personal opinion.
That's right. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. To tag on to Mary Posen's remarks there, I serve on ICANN committee, and it's the parents not taking responsibility for the younger children to get to school. I don't feel like getting up today, I'm not going to take them to school. They're not going to go to school. So there's going to be a lot of problems there. It goes back to the parents of teaching them good work ethics. I mean, school ethics.
Amen.
And if the parent doesn't want to get out of bed that early to put their kid, put them at the table for breakfast, which the kids don't get breakfast, and then get them ready and take them to school. I really think it starts and you're right, Mary, it starts in the grade school, and it goes back to parent responsibility for that part. But as far as an adult responsibility, that's where I do not understand. I don't understand why adults don't take responsibility and get to work on time and be consistent. I don't know, I'm old, and I can't imagine, and yeah, I can tell you how many sick days I've had in 25 years. Not many. Not many.
Okay, we've got a little bit less than 10 minutes left before our 2 o'clock adjournment.
I told you I could talk about this forever. I thought this was going to be like a 10-15 minute that's what I told Chairman. I give you 10 or 15 minutes, and obviously I talk longer. I apologize. The last slide, I just wanted to throw some, get your minds thinking about maybe how these funds can be used, or, you know, as these committees for the ARP funds. As I said, the Workforce Board oversees the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funds. We have the Workforce Services offices over in the KCC building on the North Extension campus. And so what I included on this side is just a few of our local success stories. And so these are some stories or some positive things actually we've done in the last 6 months. So as you can see on the upper left-hand corner of the slide, you have those 2 pictures of those 2 young gentlemen. I'm going to call them young gentlemen. So we did an on-the-job training program with RDEX here in Kankakee County, where these individuals didn't have all the skills necessary to do those jobs, and so we helped with their cost of the employee for a short period of time, get them their fully salary. Very successful program, and there's what these 2 gentlemen said about it. I like it's like where he says he likes his first job. Where he really likes going to work. And so these are people that came into our office, they were unemployed, they were making 0 money, and now they're working full time, with benefits, a good job. This is just kind of one of, these are 2, because these are 2 individuals, 2 success stories. We did actually with KCC, with Mary Posing's customized training program through with employers, a program at Crown, Cork, and Seal, training their current employees on PLCs and Plockmans with Excel. So those were training grants to employers. To your right, you can see the Riverside logo and a truck. So we obviously, our biggest cost expenditures is individuals, training expenditures, scholarships for individuals to go to school. So the young lady was going to school to be a registered nurse. Again, they're coming in to us maybe on food stamps, link card, SNAP, whatever the correct terminology is nowadays. Underemployed. Now she's a registered nurse at Riverside. Young gentleman came to us. Lots of not issues. I don't want to say barriers, but very determined to get a CDL license. And so now he's working full time as a CDL driver, hoping to get be an owner-operator in the future. I just have to say one thing, and I would be remiss if I'm not, about work ethic and young individuals. There's a great program within the community, especially as as we start looking at programs, and that's the Career Center. The Career Center does an awesome job with not only teaching technical skills, so carpentry, automotive, daycare, childcare, all their programs. but they are also an amazing school for work ethic. Those individuals, those who graduate from the Career Center, they show up to work. They are the people that employers want. They will be a great employee. And so is there a way, these are just, I don't know the answer, by the way, but that is a great resource for the community. And so is there a way to continue using that or building on that model in the future with maybe some of these ARP opportunities? Don't know the answer. I'm just throwing that out for this committee and for the employer committee to think about as you go forward. You have great resources, and I highly think the Career Center is a great resource. Is there a way we can capitalize on those resources in the future? And then just the last slide is my information, my contact information. If you want to have any other discussion or any questions, feel free to contact me. Angela's information is on there from the Economic Alliance. Again, feel free to contact us about anything. We're more than happy to, or stop by across the street. We're more than happy to talk to you about any kind of workforce.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. A big part of the work that we need to do here is to gain an understanding of the state of the county and the needs here. So thank you very much for that presentation. That was very enlightening about the workforce needs and where we're at. It sounds like an overarching theme is developing skilled, dependable workforce to fill the employer's workforce needs. And again, thank you for that presentation. We're just a few minutes away from our 2 o'clock adjournment. I would urge you, if you have any thoughts, I know this discussion could continue, but please jot down your thoughts so that we can pick up here at our next meeting. Our next meeting is set for Monday, August 16th, right back here at 1 o'clock for this group. So thank you again, everyone, for attending. All of you that are in attendance here, I'm sure, are one of the good employees that Ms. Russell was talking about. So thank you again for attending. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn or to recess, I guess. Mr. Smith, Ms. Parker. All right, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your summer day.